What is up, everyone? My producers, my listeners. This is Sonic City here with a tutorial on how to make a logic type beat, a logic type boom bap beat, or a boom trap beat. Because if you listen to Logic, you can notice that his tracks are mostly boom bap, but he has this interesting touch of trap music. Elements from trap that he adds to it, which makes them unique. So yeah, basically that is the whole idea of making a logic type beat. You would want to fuse stuff from both of the genres, but yeah, you would want to deviate more towards boom bap, because that's what the whole idea is about. That's what the whole track is about. The drums, the bass, those are the BASE, the bass of the whole track. Could I be more corny? All right, so the first thing on the list of boom bap is you'd want to use a sample. It's not recommended that you use a whole boom bap sample. You can't just type boom bap sample and just use it and drop beats and bass and already. You want to use a gospel sample, an instrumental sample, something like that you can work with, add effects, process, play with it, chop it, drop it here and there. I know that sounded awful, but yeah, that's the whole idea. Okay, so artists like Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, Ninth Wonder, they flip samples like a god. It's not necessary that you have to use a sample. You can use your own creativity. You can go for jazz chords, chill chords, sustained, major seven. Those are keys for chill melodies. So the first thing is the use of a sample here, and the second thing is you would want the melody to be really chill, and thirdly the generic boom bap drum pattern. And fourth comes the bass. The bass, you wouldn't want an 808 hitting on your face. You would want something punchy. You would want something consistent, like a bass guitar or a throat bass punch. Punch bass. Something. I don't know. Yeah, and fourth, was that fourth? Yeah, the fourth one is humanizing the drums and the melody, adding a vintage vibe. You want the whole melody to be vintage vibe, to have a vintage vibe. You can do that through processing. You can do that in the patterns. We'll talk about it later. And from the trap side, you can notice in trap beats there's a little segment where the whole melody gets shifted down by one whole octave, where the rap flow changes, the rhythm changes. So that's what we'll be doing here. And the second thing is some fast rolling hi-hats in some parts of the song. It's actually a shaker, but it works just fine. All right, so let's get started. Yeah. First off, first off, you want the BPM to be set from 60 to 98. That's the bass range. Lo-fi starts from 50. I don't know. There are lo-fis from 50, but normally you can go from 65 to 98, 95. You shouldn't exceed 100. I've used 60 here. I've kept 180 here. I work double time. Yeah. So this is a sample I got from Cymatics. A huge thanks to them. It's an e-piano loop. It goes something like this. It has that jazz groove to it. It's pretty cool. So what I did is I didn't use the sample as a whole. I chopped it, flipped it, kept it here and there, and I came up with this. Cool. I've done some processing, some EQ and reverb. Yeah. So this will be used as the bass, the BASE bass of the song, and yeah, we'll work on it. Now, secondly, what I did is I layered it with some strings. You would want something consistent to. What was that? you would want something consistent to be playing in the back, either in mono or stereo in a boom bap melody. It can be a tape loop, it can be strings, it can be some ambience, but you would want that. It is necessary. So I added these strings. It repeats itself after the bar. So yeah, these are the strings. Then next up I added these. Okay, let me shift here. This is where all the melody is present. Next I added these bells layered with a clarinet. It goes on like this. And next I added this melody. It has some, it has a groovy touch to it, some, upbringing touch to it. So one thing I'd like to speak about, these two melodies together is that what you do, you see the sample that I, chopped into here. You can see these spaces. You can see these spaces left out in between. So you would want them to be filled. You wouldn't want them to stay the way they are, because they will sound empty after the beat is done. So what this and this melody does is it helps in filling up these empty spaces. If I put them together here, you can see that they completely help in filling up the spaces. So they sound together. They sound cool together. Let me make you listen to it. And secondly, you would want some elements of the melody to sound, through any technique, to sound a bit off scale, even if they are not. You can do that by detune, you can do that by pitch automation, by LFO or something, but you would want that to happen. First thing is you would want them to be, detuned a bit, some elements of the melody, and secondly, you would want them to be placed in unpredictable places. The counter melodies. If you look at this part here, this patch here, you would want this to be situated in the same place the way this is, but it is not. So that adds an unpredictability to the melody, and that eventually adds sauce. Yeah. So so the next part is this piano, some electric piano I added, and it follows the way the sample is. It is unlike the other two. It follows the sample. It complements the sample, and it's pretty much the same chords as the sample, I guess. So the first thing is, what you would want to do is make it sound as natural as you can make it sound. Yeah, so what I did is I selected some notes off of the melody, some notes off of the chord, and shifted them either left or right. Not that a lot, but some ms. I shifted them left or right, and it adds that humane vibe, that it adds that vintage vibe that is really necessary for a boom bap melody. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the melodical part of the track, and this is what it sounds together. Now to make things as natural as you want to, you can add variation in the velocity, you can add variation in the release, and reverb and delay. I've not gone into that depth, but it works just fine. In later use, what I've done is I've recorded this whole part the melodic part and pitched it down by one whole octave and used later in the song. So here there's a whole difference in the behavior of the whole track, the environment of the whole track, where the rapper can bring changes to his flow, his lyrics, it can be deep and stuff. So that's it for the melody. Now we come to the bass. I have two bass patterns. I'll make you listen to them separately, and I talked about how the bass should sound like. I'll talk about it in detail now. First, you can listen to both of them. That was the first one. This is the second one. So what I did to make these patterns is I visualized the bass guitar player playing a bass guitar, yeah, along with a boom bap beat. So his fingers would go like yeah, something like that. So what I did is I tried to imitate the movements, the way a bass guitar would play a bass guitar. Yeah, could I be more corny? So yeah, that's what I imitated here. You can just visualize it. Yeah, so for a boom bap track, that's what you would want to do with the bass. And next up we come to the drums. So what I made sure is that every bar, every drum beat, drum bar starts off with a whole new energy with a cymbal. What this does is it creates a pump to every new bar. Because a rapper would not rap about storytelling. He would not rap about depression. He would be dropping facts on a boom bap track. Yeah, so he would want every stanza, every lyric, every start of his paragraphs to hit hard. So that can be done with the use of a cymbal at the beginning of every bar. Next up, I added these kicks. And I layered some snares. I guess there are 3 snares, and it has a vinyl crackle at the end that adds the vintage vibe. And I also added a perk at the end that announces this bar has ended. Next, I added 2 open hats. And you would want them to be stereo. Next, I added some slow rolling close hats. In later part of the song, I've used a pattern of fast rolling hi-hats. It actually acts as a shaker, but it sounds good, so why not use it? Yeah. So what you would want to do with the drums is, first thing, you would want them to get wide. You can do that by reverb. Don't put reverb on the kick. You want to add reverb on the snare, the hats. You would want them to be wide. And secondly, you would want to humanize the drums. So what you gotta do for that is, once you have the drum patterns all set, you want to select some random notes. Okay, some random notes, and what you'll do is you'll shift them a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Not all, some of them, so that you get a nice humane vibe to it, because no professional drummer can play it exactly on beat with the drums. The same thing I've done with the snares. Now this is an advantage if you're using multiple snares layered, because once you place one snare a bit ahead of the other, it has a nice crackle, a nice attack to it. It sounds great. Now listen to this one. Hold up. Yeah, if you pay close attention, that's one nice snare. I did that with the hi-hats too. Some of the hi-hats I did that, selected some random notes and shifted them either left or either right. So that is basically it for the whole boom bap track, a logic type track, ready to rap. For effects, first off, I added a drum fill. Then I added some perks and reverse cymbals and shakers to add an energy. Now, if you're completely producing a boom bap track to rap, my suggestion, my advice to it is you would want to add some gaps in either the bass or the melody, or mainly the drums, at the end of every second bar, because the rapper goes, the first line, the second line, the third line, and the punch line. So you want that punch line to hit really hard. Now, yeah. So that basically is it. I've added, for effects, first off, I added a filter at the intro, so that the drums, come don't just hit it in the face.